My name is Donna Appell, and I am so grateful to be presenting here today. I know that you can all kind of relate to this story, but I'm kind of here to set the stage. I represent Hermansky-Pudlak syndrome, and it's an autosomal recessive single gene disorder. Presently, we have 11 different gene types. It's characterized by albinism, legal blindness. There's a bleeding disorder with all gene types caused by a platelet dysfunction. In about 20% of our folks, they develop a Crohn's-like colitis. More seriously, 100% of the time in HPS 1, 2, and 4, they develop a fatal pulmonary fibrosis. And without a lung transplant, they succumb in their early adult years. My daughter was born with albinism, with what we thought was albinism. And then she hemorrhaged to shock in her crib at 2 years old from the bowel disease. She bled so badly, she needed 36 units of platelets, 6 units of blood. She sustained a traumatic brain injury. And if we had known more about HPS, that would have never happened. After 3 months of hospitalization, I knew I had to find the experts. I loved her so much. I had to find the research. I had to find the cure. I found nothing. I started the HPS network and began this crazy journey of trying to cure disease and find research. It was beyond daunting. We came to find out that Ashley had the fatal type of HPS, and now we're racing a clock. So besides working full-time, being the caregiver to my daughter, the mom, to my son, the wife, I now had to learn research, genetics, pharmacology, and politics. And mostly I had to figure out how to go about marketing a disease, especially one with such a stupid name. My organization challenges didn't help when I established it. Our people are visually impaired. We have a founder's effect in Puerto Rico, so many of our families are Spanish speaking. We do a lot of work on the island of Puerto Rico, and connectivity can really be a big barrier to engagement. I send out great information and education, but if people can't connect, that's a bigger issue. And that island, they have hurricanes and earthquakes, sandstorms, and things become insurmountable at times. Our biggest hurdle, of course, is our tiny budget, just like everyone else feels. So where do I begin? Like, how do I go? What direction do I go in? So first you got to learn, like Kari was saying, you just have to learn and keep your eyes open. I remember in the very beginning, calling for help. I actually called the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and they were so kind to me because they were the first people that taught me the difference between bench research and clinical research. Picking up the phone makes such a difference. Not knowing how do I know where the cure is going to come from? So I just started looking at the 2 types of researches and made a list. And I began growing them simultaneously. I wanted to investigate stem cells and organoids and gene therapies and things that we're going to learn in this panel discussion this morning. But I made a list. It was my to-do list to find bench researchers. And then I wanted to make clinical experts as well. So it was like growing our research 1 seed at a time. I just kind of worked it out and thought of the acronym DOC. I wanted to look for docs. So it became discovery, opportunities, and commitment. The first thing I needed to do was discover what's out there. I needed to expose the cause and do outreach. And then making those contacts with umbrella organizations like our hosts, the Global Genes and the Orphan Disease Center. These people are amazing. And finding my metabolic pathway partners, who's next to us in that gene. That I set our Google alerts and our journal alerts so that every morning I would get an influx of things in my inbox, and then I would read them and call those authors. Also finding out where the researchers live. We needed pulmonary research, so I worked very closely with the American Thoracic Society. We have a booth at their conference, and I'm on the Public Advisory Roundtable and have been on their board of directors. I even just cold call researchers. My biggest victory was a cold call to the NIH, and believe it or not, I got Dr. William Gall. And to decide about taking on HPS 2 decades ago, he asked us to collect 24-hour urine buckets from any families we knew with HPS. We had to do this in the winter because they had to be refrigerated. So we put them on our deck in the snow to keep them cold. It was life-changing for our organization and the beginning of our clinical research journey. We also took lots of road trips. My kids always thought that they were going on summer vacations in cool places like Niagara Falls, but it was really Roswell Park Cancer Institute to meet the PhDs that had the mice labs. We went to Maine and it was Jackson Labs. It was a great discovery for the kids, but it was really just moving science. After we discovered who's out there, we knew that I needed to provide opportunities. So we host a science meeting called the Meeting of the Minds. It started with 4 or 5 researchers, and now we're up to 50. Annually, they get together and talk in a space that's very collegial, but they can only present their work if it's unpublished data. Each year, I invite a guest speaker to come. We think of a subject matter like that we want to learn about, like an organoid, for instance, and we look around the country and try to invite best in class to come to the conference and be our rock star. They don't have to know anything about HPS, but the trick is I ask them to go last in the speaking agenda so that they listen to all the researchers that discuss HPS, and maybe by the end of the day, they apply some of it to their particular subject matter. And of course, involving always young investigators with poster sessions and the like. We combine all of that with our family conference because we want our researchers engaged with our people. We actually do an English version and a Spanish version separately, rather than a translated conference. We do them separate. We really want to ask our researchers to meet our families, so we always break bread together. I guess, sadly, it's what I got, but I'm not ashamed of our small budget. We've supplied mouse food, and we've covered annual bills for electron microscopy repairs. We've given office equipment, and now we're grown to provide salary for postdoc. We also are creating experts by providing CME classes. We help with clinical trials. We're recruiting for our symptom scale study. And we really try to bring our researchers along by giving them our biospecimens. It's our culture. We have a program called We're Drawn Together. So we invite our researchers to bring the science to us rather than us going to the science. They run IRB approved clinical projects. One year we had 5 of these going on at the same time. We had to have space for obtaining consents, which all had to be in Spanish and large print. And we had stations with my friends as phlebotomists, and we ended up drawing 98 specimens of blood and 4 stool specimens, and we accomplished it all in 1 hour and 55 minutes. So after providing these opportunities, now we want commitment. We need this research to be committed to our cause. We continually have ruthless groveling. And here's a picture of my daughter that we sent to our researcher who's studying the CRISPR-Cas9 research. But we want to help them grow their peer group in our research. And we want to show our commitment by showing the growth of our cohort. We want to be able to establish a research-ready organization. So our job is to prepare our patients and our families. So we created the individual research plans. We identified the barriers for each and every member of our organization and figure out what those barriers are. If it's fear, we find them a buddy. If it's money and they can't afford a day off from work, we provide them support. If it's transportation, we get them to research. So we try to look at the barriers and try to mitigate it. We also make sure we have open communication with our researchers and actually help them communicate with each other. So we're creating a forum. And for our new investigators, we're always sure to tell them that we're there to help. We could provide speakers or send pictures or slides. We could write letters for supports of their grant. We make sure they know that we are willing to help. In summary, I just kind of think if you got to find your docs, I think of Doc. Discover who they are, offer opportunities, and inspire their commitments. I know it sounds kind of like a little Pollyanna-ish, but we got to start by just beginning, and this is pretty much gets built over time.